And so I try to break it down into 3 or 4 steps. And if I can break this down into 3 or 4 steps, then I can understand something as complicated as pruning. If I get into these big old standard trees over there, you know, that's pretty tough to figure out what to do with those things. But if you got a central leader tree like this, you can break down to 3 or 4 steps, then that keeps it pretty simple. So one of the things, this is on Gisela 5 or Gisela 6, one of the first things that I look for is weak or pendant wood. Because I know that weak wood and pendant wood is going to grow smaller cherries. Now if this were a tree with 24 inches of new growth, and you have this pendant wood here, I would not be at all surprised if I had no new growth on this pendant wood. And if you don't have any new growth on this pendant wood, then this branch becomes parasitic on the tree. So I don't want it on here anymore because I'm getting a massive fruit on here. I'm not getting any new leaves here to feed these cherries here. And so it's having to pull carbohydrates from these other leaves around here in order to feed these cherries here. And these cherries are going to be smaller. And so I don't want that type of wood in my tree. So this is one of the ways you can deal, and you can perhaps we can turn this tree around and get it a little bit more vigor in here, is to go through. The first thing I do then is to look for this pendant wood and this weak wood, and I just eliminate it. So I'm going to try to work with this. I don't know if that's going to help or not, but I'll just take that off like that and put a little more strength into this. Maybe get this to come out here and fill in this area, because I have nothing else in this region. Same thing here. I'm going to take that off there. See all the flowers on that? Everything was hanging down, and it was just all going to be small cherries. So again, I'm just going to continue to go around here and look for pendant wood that has a lot of flowers on it. Take it off. I've got pendant wood coming down here. I've got a horizontal branch. I'm going to take the pendant off. Here I've got the same thing. This is pendant, this is more upright. I'm going to favor the more upright branch here. So I'm just going to go on here and continue to, in some of these places there's just not a lot to work with here. But we'll just continue around this tree looking for opportunities to take off some of this weaker wood, some of the more pendant wood. And okay, so I'm finishing up on the pendant wood now. So now I need to start thinking about my next step here and what I'm going to do next. And so then my next step is to think about branch renewal. So first step is to remove all weak and pendant wood. Step 2 is branch renewal, and that's what we have right here. I've noticed a number of these cuts in the trees here, and what I would like then is within a period of 5 years to have all of my fruiting wood renewed, and that way I keep my tree young. If I have old spurs, I grow smaller fruit, but if I have young spurs, they will grow larger fruit, and that's of course is what I want, and the vigor in the tree will be greater as well. And so in order to get new spurs, more fruiting wood, what I need to do is to look for opportunities like we saw over there where I can cut that back, stub that back, and grow new fruiting wood rather. So we've got a situation here where this branch is coming up. It's not overly big, but there's an opportunity here to get a new branch from that point there. I'd like to make a couple of these types of cuts, 2 or 3 in a tree like this in a year, so that what I'm doing then is stimulating new wood coming out there. There's going to have new leaves, in a couple of years I'll have new fruiting wood. And so they've done a pretty good job. At the top of the tree, you can make that cut fairly close to the trunk. Like I mentioned earlier, if you're going to do that, you've got to have light on it. Otherwise, if it's in the shade, it won't grow a new branch. And so down here at the bottom of the tree, if I were to make a stud cut, I would want that to be further out. This is a branch here that may, I think that I'll use that as another stud cut. And I'm going to leave that alone then and not make any more. So that's step 2. So now step 3 is tipping. If you look at a new branch, new growth coming out, here's a good example here. So this all grew last year. You'll notice that the buds at the tip here are closer together than the buds at the base. In addition, when this starts to flower in a couple of years, you will have more flowers per bud up here than you will down here at the base. And because this is on a Gisela rootstock, what I want to do is to lessen the amount of flowers on here. Otherwise, it's going to overset, and I'm not going to have any vigor in the tree. And so, in order to counter that then, and to spread my flowers out more evenly down here, I come along here and I'll tip all the new growth. Now, there's not a whole lot of new growth here, so instead of doing that then, what I need to do is I'm going to try to stimulate some new growth in this wood here. So I'm going to come along here. I'm going to go back into 2-year-old wood and tip as much of this 2-year-old wood as I can in order to stimulate some new growth here. Here's a good example of what I was just talking about. You see the massive bloom right here, and you see the less bloom down below. So because of this massive bloom up here, you're going to have a mass of cherries, and that's going to stop the new growth that we're getting up here. In fact, in Chile, they call this the traffic jam because no carbohydrates can get past this to grow any new branch wood, any new leaves. And so what I want to do then is to come back here, take this off, so that these flowers down here, where there's more spread apart, I keep my leaf to fruit ratio in better balance. What I need is, at least from work that Greg Lang and Matt Whiting did at WSU, they say that you need at least 5 to 6 leaves for every cherry that you grow. If I have a massive fruit up here, my leaf to fruit ratio is going to be out of balance. And so I want to get that back into balance. In order to do that, I come in here and I take that off just like that. Same thing here. So I'm making a lot of heading cuts in order to stimulate new growth. Get new leaves, take some of the fruit off. That's what I want to do here.
Will this maintain yield with larger fruit?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah, we will get with something like this, we'll get a good balance of leaves to fruit, which means we'll have larger cherries, and you may see a reduction in the amount of fruit that you get, but it should be counterbalanced by being able to make more money off of that larger fruit. Now again, in a situation like this where it's a U-pick place, it may not be worthwhile for them to have the larger cherries. They may want to have more fruit, but for most growers, larger fruit will last longer on the shelf, it'll get more money, you'll get more customers, they'll come back. So that's what at least we look for in the Pacific Northwest.
But there will be a reduction in poundage.
There will be a reduction in tonnage, yes. Yep. So then the last thing we have to deal with is the top. They've done a good job of keeping the top back, but you need to, here's another opportunity to come in here. I don't know if I can reach this or not, but come back here, cut this off here. I've got a couple of branches that are coming out side by side here. Put that back. And then typically what you'll do is you'll go to a weaker branch at the top, or if you have a really vigorous block, what I would recommend then is do my summer pruning at the top of the tree, because that's a devigorating cut, the top of the tree, and then wait for the dormant season to do the rest of your pruning. So if you've got too much vigor in the top, take care of it right after harvest or sometime in the summertime. Step 1 is to remove all weak and pendant branches. Step 2 is to stub back branches so you renew branches, you get new fruiting wood, and within a period of 5 years I want to renew all of the fruiting wood in this tree. And then step 3 is to tip all the branches so that I reduce the clumping at the tip of the branch, I spread the fruiting and the flowering out throughout the entire branch, and I keep my leaf to fruit ratio in balance.